Hello, we're live. All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our very first stream podcast on Milanistas 360. My name's Husni.
My name's Shane. Nice
And
to meet everyone.
we're glad for everyone to join us. And if you want to know what we're about, please subscribe first. And let's get going. Okay, Shane, you wanna start this off?
Sure. So I guess just I guess to recap. So my name is Shane. So I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. Um, Met up with my guy Husni on a podcast. We decided we want to make a pot of our own. So here we are. Really looking forward to getting out and sharing some content with you guys.
Yeah. My name's Husni. I'm Malaysian, currently in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah. I look forward to going home soon. I guess we'll be covering the Asian continent from where I'll be. We know I've known Shane not too long now, but us being Milan fans, Milanistas, so uh, we have a lot of things in common, especially with regards to the love for the club, and we're looking to bring you great content, our own perspectives, and a lot of entertainment along the way.
That's it. A lot of love for the club, but oh man, it was tough watching Fiorentina, wasn't it?
It sure was, and it's 3 points in the bag. At the end of the season, we probably won't remember how we got to that stage. We just look at the point tally, but there are some moments that I'll feel extra painful, and I think we'll go through it through this pod. But Shane, tell me, how did you start off being a Milan fan, and are there any moments that you would like to share with our audience?
Sure. So I think it kind of started for me when I was a kid. So I grew up in Ireland. So there was a TV show that was on every Saturday morning, Gazzetta Football Italia. And I remember seeing a team when I was about 4 or 5 wearing this vivid red and black. And there was players like Hullet, Van Basten, Rijkaard playing for them, and I just fell in love with the team ever since. It's through the ups and downs, but forever a Milanista. How about you?
Yeah, I used to live in Milan when I was a kid, and for those who don't know, Shane and I were the same age, so our love for the club can't be too far off. I used to live in
21.
Milan when I was young, so those were back in late 80s, towards the mid 90s. So those were great times, especially when Berlusconi just took over, and we were constantly at the peak of football. And there's some great names that you've mentioned there, Shane. But Hulit, those names, Van Basten. A lot of our younger generation probably be more used to Kaká, Shevchenko. But guys, in the 90s, that was all the rage. With a helicopter landing in the middle of the field. Can't get any better than that.
So if I had to go one further, who's your favorite Milan player of all time?
I'll be a little bit relevant towards this current generation. So for me, it has to be Kaká. The things that he did, and the star that he was. It's sorely needed, especially now considering the troubles that we're facing in the number 10 position. How about you, Shane? You any player that comes to mind, especially when you think of the Milan greats?
Franco Baresi for me. I just think he's everything about him as a player was is everything that's missing in football now. He's very strong, very gifted, very fast, very talented. Every attribute that you would need in a football player for me, it was just Franco Baresi. I just think he's definitely one of mine, definitely my favorite.
So in terms of the matchup, because a lot of our fellow fans, always put Baresi in the same sentence with Maldini. So Maldini is a player that a lot of us are a little bit more used to because he's still at the club in a more obvious capacity. Baresi is there as well, but I guess you could say he's behind the curtains a little bit. Uh, which one would you have in the current team, Maldini or Baresi?
Ah, that is a great question. So, but not. Oh man, wow, great question. So, let me answer that by saying, as I should have muted my phone. Sorry. So, I think for me, I'd probably just go for Baresi. because I think sitting Maldini into that squad isn't as much of a need with Hernandez there, right? But when you look at kind of the centre back pairings, and they tend to be very cobbled together. It's like, is it going to be Kier? Is it going to be Tamori? Is it going to be maybe Gabia? Is it going to be Kalulu? You know, so I'd probably say Baresi for me. How about you? Where would you? So if you had to swap, let's say, if you had a choice of, let's say, Rui Costa and Kaka on this current team, who would you put in, and who would you replace them with, and why?
It'd have to be Kaka, and I think he replaces anyone in our that's capable of being our cam. And the reason being is that it's the Kaka had a lot of creativity, and he had it all. Yeah, he had the creativity in the pitch. He also had the free kicks. I know Pirlo did quite a bit of that, but Kaka, you can't take those abilities away from him. And he's that sort of player that brought the magic. So you could be lost in the game, which we are in the recent few games, and he could be the player that stood out and really pulled the team to the top. That's someone that we sorely need, and Zlatan was that sort of player for a while, but now that he's injured, there's really no one pulling in that direction that we need to be, especially to close out these games to get the 3 points. I see Giroud trying it quite a bit, but maybe he's not the level of the greats when it comes to what we've seen in Milan over the many decades, you could say.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a very good point. I think it leads on to a good question. So based on where Milan are now, so after coming out of, let's say, the Elliott phase was okay. Let's run the club responsibly, cut down on unnecessary player salaries, be creative with transfers. But now I think, well, hopefully, and I think most Milan fans out there will agree. Hopefully, with Redbird, it'll be a bit more, in terms of investment, and maybe uh, hiring some hiring some more experienced talent. So, who would, what position would you ideally like to get covered over first? And I already know what you're going to say, but
I'm gonna do something a little different because I know the one that you're really gonna pick, but I'm gonna choose something a little different, and I'm actually gonna go for striker. And the reason being is that we have a great striker. Yeah, so Giroud no, undoubtedly is a great striker, but let's face it, he cannot be our long-term solution. Yeah, he was great last season. Now he's doing great, but anything can happen. Yeah? And we've seen this before with other players in other teams. It could be that tackle, that that moment that gets him stretched off the pitch. We can't have that. So I want a ready-made striker, and if you just want to take a very extreme example of what's been done in the EPL, they went ahead and got Haaland, and you see how Haaland started off. He didn't need time or anything like that. This is a sort of profile that I want. Names like Okafor being mentioned, Jonathan David. We should have the money, so I don't think that is a problem. It's just a question of whether we need to spend. And how about you, Shane? I think you're gonna make the obvious pick.
so okay, I would have loved to just said right wing, but that's very lazy. So even though, look, I think everyone realizes there are issues with the right wing, and that's not being harsh on Messias, especially for me. I think Messias definitely has a role as a backup player in some context. Salamakers for me, right winger isn't his role, and he's never going to really. I think even with 2 or 3 years of further development, if we give him that, I just can't really see him being effective. I think he needs to be replaced, but a bigger need for me right now, rather compared even to the right wing, is we need some good experienced depth in the center of the park. If you take out Tonali, or if you take out Benacer, there's a huge problem. There's a gaping hole in that team. The team doesn't run, it doesn't function. So for me, yeah, it's kind of, what do you say, really? I mean, you know, the proof is in the game. So I mean, especially when Benacer comes off, as great as Tonali has been with some of his clutch goals, there isn't very much talk about, just the magic that happens when Benacer is on the pitch, because you can literally see it. If he's not playing, the midfield doesn't gel. There's no link up play. So for Tonali's goals, I mean, we're really missing that. So for me, centre of the park, and then hopefully Cardinale can maybe find 30 million lying around somewhere just to go and get a right winger as well.
Yeah, my take on it is that we do have options in the midfield, but undoubtedly we're seeing a lot of the same names being used again and again. So the Tonali, Benacer, the chemistry is great for us. I and kudos to Tonali because it's not easy to take Cassie's place. 2 seasons ago, it would have been a default Cassie Benacer. Don't take a gamble, just put Cassie Benacer. And if you didn't have Cassie or Benacer wasn't available, we were shaky. But I'm glad that Tonali really built up that partnership. But it's a partnership that we need with a lot of other players or pairings within the team. So last season we had Kalulu and Tomori, great partnership. This season, I don't know what happened. A lot of people say that it's because Mike is not around, so Tomori feels that he has to do a lot more to cover Tatarushanu. It's a bit unfair because the goals that we're conceding, I personally would blame Tomori a little bit more than others. I mean, no doubt he's had his moments of brilliance, like against Juventus, but that chemistry you really need it across other positions across the pitch. How about you, Shane? Are there any other pairings that you like to see, or between two positions that really need to gel together?
I think it's a great point what you just said there, especially about the chemistry needing to be there between players. And I think this might seem a bit harsh to some of the Milan fan base, but we seem to have gotten very impatient all of a sudden when the Redbird money came in, right? Because let's not forget, we were, only a few short years ago we were kind of banking on players like Alex Pauletta, you know, like most of these players I can't even remember now, to be honest. That's how horrific they were. Kaisuke Honda. I mean, these weren't great players. So we've gone from that to some young, unpolished talent with Elliot, and now I think maybe the feeling is that, well, Redbird are, they have a lot of money. They're going to come in and they're going to spend, spend, spend. I don't see that happening, and I don't see it happening in a similar way to what happened at Liverpool, for instance. The Serie A, it doesn't have as much money flowing into it as the Premier League does. Um, so I think for me, there is definitely an onus maybe to get more young, to let's say nurture the youth, the young players. But I think that should be maybe done against, like, very sparingly, and maybe against the bottom 3 or 4 in this area, and not against Torino like we seen a couple of weeks ago. Even though I know they were relatively low then, but we seen how that worked out for us when we, uh, threw out a kind of a randomized 11. So I guess for me, the ideal pairing, because we know it works really well, is Benacer and Tonali. But the concern is that, well, if we lose one of those, we're lacking quite a lot. That those are big shoes to fill for either one of them. So we just need to get in someone who's very experienced and can really fill in the middle of the park without too many issues. Also, I hope you enjoy Fulham, Kessie, if that's where you're going, judging on today's news.
Yeah, we wish Cassie luck. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
How's Barcelona, bro? That's the big message from Milan fans. How's it going?
Life choices, man. Life choices. Sometimes we don't always make the right ones, you know. And the thing and this is key, and I think it's important for me in this channel as well. Is I don't, we shouldn't be, as Milan fans. If a player decides to leave, we should never be that fan base that kind of, is derogatory or demeaning about a player for wanting to leave. There is other clubs out there, and I'm the same with Kessie. He chose his path. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out for him, but hopefully, it comes good in the future for him.
Yeah, but it's there's other players. That's the name that we shall not mention, Mr. H, who plays for the Snakes now. So there are some players that I guess it's fair game to take the piss out of them, but we'll try to keep it civil. I guess the what the fans really want is just quite a lot of honesty. So Cassie said some things. Mr. H also said some things before he left. So this is what the fans are clinging to. And when it doesn't work out, they get the burn.
And Leao might be saying some of the same similar things, which is a very scary situation.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
But the one that you have to respect, maybe is Benner said that he doesn't want to lie, so he just kept quiet.
Uh,
Maybe that's
yeah,
the only honest sign that we've seen.
yeah. Mm. Big time, big time.
Yeah.
So, look, what are your feelings on being so far behind Napoli right now?
But Benacer, you mean?
No, sorry, about being so far behind Napoli in terms
Okay,
of
okay.
points. Yeah.
Well, I guess a lot of people are gonna clip this, or are gonna gun me down for this, but it's it's tougher than it should be. So they are 8 points ahead of us. A lot of people say that they will collapse, which may be true, and anything can happen. Is football. But I am not comfortable with us being 8 points behind, and with us being so close to teams like Juve, which we've let's admit it, we ran them down in the beginning of the season in the first few games, saying that they might not even make top four. Same thing with Inter. They've lost what now? 5 games. They're just 3 points behind us. So it's a lot closer than it needs to be. And whose responsibility is it? It's the team. They only have themselves to look into the mirror and had we won those games and a lot of what ifs, maybes against Torino, we could have should have kept that. We shouldn't have conceded that penalty against Napoli. It would have been much tighter. But it is what it is. How about you, Shane? Is it? You think you're going to go the whole way? You think it's going to be a second star at the end of the season, or just the one?
So my thing is with Napoli. If anyone else wins the Serie A, I would really like it to be Napoli. It's a club with a lot of history. Um, they haven't been doing so well relatively recently. Let us not forget they did have one certain Argentinian, uh, you know, generational player that single-handedly won them a league. Obviously Maradona. Um, but if someone wins it, I would love it. I would, and it's not Milan. Obviously, I would love it to be them. I just can't see it though. No, even though they've started really well, they have credit to them. They replaced what they needed to in the summer. Their signings have been very effective. Straight off the, straight into the season, they've become very effective. They definitely have a one up on us. When you look at CDK, I know Vranks and Xiao are, slowly integrating into the team, but I guess then you look at Adley and I mean, he's nowhere to be seen. So, yeah, Napoli do deserve their success currently. I can't see it lasting the whole season unless they're, machines, which obviously they're not. So for me, I think Milan just need to stay as close as possible till maybe March, April, try and just get those wins in the bag, wait for Napoli to slip up, which they eventually will, you know, and then it's just a case of, right, now Napoli knows what it's like to lose. Can they switch back to winning quickly, And that's just what it is for me. So I'm not, I still think it's a lot of it is down to us and how we react as opposed to just waiting for, just watching Napoli, because we should never do that. So I'm still relatively positive. Please don't at me in May or June if we but
You just might.
let's see.
But
Mm.
Shane, you brought up some interesting names there and some good points. So what I'd like to do is that I just want to do a bit for this current podcast is to take us through some moments from the last game. So I have some photos, but I feel these images are reflective of how the start of the first 15 games of the season have been. So let me put this up, and they're no special order; they're actually in random. But let's
Do
just
you
pick
have a
a game.
dumpster fire there?
Yeah, maybe.
If it's reflective. Okay, no.
But these are images from the game, so they aren't going to be too artistic in that sense. Just tell me what are your thoughts when you see this image, okay? Let me put this up. How about this?
Oh, my man Adley, the guy that's kind of disappeared. So yeah, so I don't know if you heard today. So there was a bit of a headline about him. So Pioli has decided he's not matching the rhythm, the tempo that Pioli needs him to play like. So he's probably going to be shipped out on loan. Possibly not a House situation, because at least even with House, I mean, they didn't even give him well, they did actually. They sent him out in low, didn't they? And then they made the sale to Frankfurt, I believe. Maybe a House situation, but I'd hope not. I'd really like to see. He needs time, I think. Um, what are your thoughts on Adley and his awesome new Puma merch?
Yeah, so yeah, other than the Puma merch, which is a little interesting and something that Shane and I we've spoken about, but we'll leave that to maybe another video. But you've mentioned two names that are very important. Yeah? When you say Adley, you cannot not think about Hauge and how Hauge was for us. So let's put things into context here. Yeah, so if take it back about 2 seasons, Hauge scored goals for us. He scored in the Europa League. He's also scored in the league in Serie A itself. If anyone can remember the game, coincidentally, I think against Fiorentina as well, he actually
Mhm.
scored. Was it Fiorentina or maybe Verona? One of those teams. He scored the
That's a
equalizer.
Googler.
Yeah, we might have to
Let
Google that
me.
one. He scored the
Yeah,
equalizer. Disappointingly for me, I thought that he was mistreated. The next season, he was sent out, and that coming from a player who I thought had a lot of talent. He scored goal for us. He did well against us. Granted, we were in Europa League when he was back with the Bodo Glimt, and I see a lot of that happening with Yasin Adli. Now it's still early for Yasin Adli, and a lot of people, I mean, the people that I speak to, I know they want to give him time, but to give him time, what does that actually mean? Are we going to give him time on the field, which I think he deserves? Because let's all admit it, for those who've watched the preseason games, he had an amazing preseason. He did well. You saw his movements, you saw his creativity, and our current cams that we have, our number tens, are not pulling their weight in the sense that we need them to. So Diaz has had amazing games, no doubt about it. But Mr. 35 million, who I've dubbed as Mr. Time, has not. So I don't see how Adley hasn't gotten more than one start. He's only had one start, and that was against, as you mentioned, Shane, against Torino, which, fair to Adley, it wasn't all his fault. I mean, he was part of the poor performance, but there were other players on the field too that were, shocking. And he started a game where the formation was changed to what, 3-4-2-1, or sorry, 3-4-1-2 or 3-4-3. Not a good start for him, but I guess like you said, Shane, we got to give him time, and time will tell.
that's that's a relative point, though, especially when it comes to Adley in the context of him not having rhythm, right, and tempo, as Pioli is supposed to have said. So, I mean, I think you said this previously as well, which is how can you expect that a player develops a tempo and a rhythm where you're training a player in a certain formation all through the summer months, and then for his first, forget preseason friendlies, they're pointless, completely irrelevant, right? But his first competitive, let's say, competitive game, you're kind of throwing him in, right? Because it was Torino, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And then you're kind of saying like, well, okay, so I'm going to put you into something that we probably haven't spent much training time on. Go off and excel. He's not going to do that if he's not keeping up with the tempo and the rhythm in the normal formation that you're probably training on. He's going to completely fall apart in the new formation. So that's bad move, bad mark on Pioli for this one, for
Well,
me.
Shane, the counter argument to that was that Malik Chow, that was actually his first start as well, you remember. So he was
Ah, that's
part
true.
of the back three. So someone could actually say that, okay, yeah, fine, those points are valid, but we've had players who started in the back three, Malik Chow, and did quite well. Strangely, he was
Mm,
taken off the pitch. He was subbed off, and again
that's it.
yesterday. But yeah, it's not not a great start for our young talent, and especially if we want to commit to a project.
I hope. I think we'll see him again. I hope we do. I hope he doesn't get housed. You know, if he gets housed, I'd be quite upset. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. All right, let's see the next photo. Ah, what are your thoughts about Mr. Ivan Gazidis and how he's been with the club?
Man, so this will this may give you an insight into how good I am at predicting things. So when they got Gazidis from Arsenal, I complained and said he will destroy the club. When they got Pioli, I said this is ridiculous. He will destroy the club. So it just shows you what I know. But no, Gazidis, Gazidis, shout out to him. I really like the way he signed off as well with that very, very nice, emotional, kind of tweet, where he kind of said, look, you'll forever be a Milanista, and he's going to watch the games as a fan, and and especially with all the health issues that he had as well, and he did such a great job. I mean, Forza Ivan, I say, he's really wrote history at this club, and he should be very proud of himself for what he's achieved.
Yeah, I agree, fully agree with you. So fans will probably notice that Ivan Gazidis is also looking into the commercial side of things. So we are a lot more familiar with Masara, Moncada, Maldini. So they do things that you can see on the field. Yeah, so players they bring in and sort of caliber that talent that they're looking for. But Ivan Gazidis is looking into the commercial aspect, which I think we've done much better. So we've had partnerships with BMW. Granted, it's not him doing it by himself. This he has a team behind it, but he's really setting the direction for that. And for a prestigious club like ours, we need to have the partners that are aligned with our values and with the overall prestige of the club. So we have BMW. We now have this off white. So you can see the direction that we're going with. So he's definitely had a part to play with that. In terms of Scudetto, yes, he has his share of the credit as well, along with the players, Pioli, Maldini, just to name a few, Zlatan. So overall, for me, it's been great for him. What he's done really brought us from the maybe it's not even from the brink. We were quite in the dumps for for many years, but he's one of the figureheads when it comes to the resurgence that we're enjoying right now.
Just don't ask Boban for his opinion. I don't think it'll be a very good one.
Yeah, maybe some bookies might have had the money on Boban to make a comeback as
Yeah,
as
yeah,
what is he, CEO? Yeah, as CEO.
yeah.
But good luck to the new guy, Giorgio Furlani, if I have his name correct. One of
Mm.
the Redbird guys or boys.
I
If you
think he's
call them.
from. Isn't he? Wasn't he from the Elliott board of directors? I think he was an
Ah,
advisor
my
for
bad. Yeah,
Elliott.
is he from
So
Elliot? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So
So I
let's
guess
see.
Elliot
Let's see.
using their loan to bring in their people, which fair
That's
enough.
it.
And if the news is to be believed, he's a fan. I don't know if that will change things because he still has a boss. Him being a fan doesn't make the rest of us his boss. He he reports the guy that actually has the money to run the club. Okay.
Well, Elliott don't mess around. So I think maybe the fan thing will be secondary if it comes to a talk about money.
Yeah,
We
now
shall see though.
they'll unleash the worship.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's take a look at the next one. So this is the fans picture of the San Siro with the fans, and I just want to get your take, Shane, about how the fans have been, how we reacted towards being, you know, champions, Scudetto winners against all odds, and what is your take on how you see the us fans, and maybe you can touch upon the patience the fans have.
Yeah, and it's one thing that's always kind of stuck with me. If you ever meet a fellow Milan fan, you always see the passion straight away, and that never changed in the banter years. It never changed. There's always a hope that it would turn around. The fans have been great. They really deserve this success, and I think that's kind of what led to me and you starting this channel, Husney, which was it was kind of based around getting fan engagement in areas of the globe that there isn't much. So let's say East Africa, the Middle East, Asia, Indonesia, China, Malaysia, those kind of areas. But of course, we like to call ourselves global as well. So, I mean, if you like tuning in to get the ramblings of idiot Milanistas every now and then, please like and subscribe. But no, the fans have been great. Um, just credit to them. Full of passion, full of honesty, empathy, and respect as well, which is really what I like to see. So yeah, big up our fans, but we really deserved it, and we deserved it to, even sitting through the banter years, we deserved to get where we are. So I, I love you all.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, not only in terms of the club, our performances are back, but the fans are back. So we constantly see the news of the San Siro being sold out for our home games. That is great for us, yeah, just to show that we as a club, we're back. The support is and has always been there. Uh, I remember the times of the Bante era. But if you remember the protest by the Ultras in Berlusconi's last
Ah,
year, that they just didn't show up. So those days
yeah.
are gone. They passed
See, yeah,
behind.
because the team didn't show up either.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Yeah.
Fair enough. No one bothered to show up. Even Berlusconi wasn't there, I think, for that game. I mean, as time went by, he rarely made an appearance. But
Mm.
it's glad to see that our fellow brothers and sisters in supporters of AC Milan, we're together. The trophy going around the world and seeing that, yes, as you mentioned, Shane, there are fans around the world, and we're here on this channel to really give a voice to the underrepresented, or you could say the silent fans. They bleed red and black, just like the rest of us, but they deserve to have their own voice. So as this channel grows, we're looking to have more of them on the channel, interviews, even reactions. We can even do the watch along. So it's great.
And
And
shout out as well to especially some of the guys based around the Indonesia direction. I mean, some of their kick collections are just absolutely insane. I mean, you're talking one of a kind type. If you really want to see a kit collection, I hear in Indonesia especially, there's guys, that it's just incredible. So yeah, it'd be good to see if we can engage a lot of those kind of guys as well, because you're more than welcome as well to come on and actually show your kit collection, because I love that stuff. You know.
that's a great content idea. And yeah, definitely a lot more fan involvement. And this is a channel definitely for the fans. Okay, so let's see our next slide. Ah, Mr. Liao. What are your thoughts about Mr. Liao? How has he been this season?
So this is so I was kind of thinking in the Fiorentina game, how bad would it be if this was Leao's last game for us? Because you get went through a rocky start, really pulled his act together. I think he's kind of showing. He's for me, he shows glimpses of why he's potentially a future Ballon d'Or winner. You know, I think he'd be hugely missed if he goes. Not just. I think players of that caliber are not just a loss for Milan, but they're a loss for the league essentially. So I would hope he stays. I would hope, for me, he sees the value of committing to this project. But I also hope as well that Redbird see the value of keeping our jewels in the project. And he is definitely he's a player that you build a team around. You know, so if he decides to go, I couldn't blame the guy. To be honest, I mean, if he's going to go and he wants to go, rock up at Chelsea, rock up at City. If it's a money situation, he gets more money than we can afford to give him. Okay, sure. I just don't want it to be a situation where he leaves for an extra 1 million that Chelsea were going to give him because we wouldn't, meet that offer, right? Because then, to me, that's us being Milan, just not trying hard enough. If it's a situation where he leaves for an extra three or four, hey, look, it is what it is. We can't do miracles, but I don't know, man. What about you? What do you think?
I fully agree with you, but and this is a negative take, in my opinion, I think he's gone. So it's not the first news that we've heard about Liao recently. It's been going on for, oof, you could say more than a year. Speaking about Rafael Liao, what's his situation, and beyond the money that we've paid to get him from Lille, we've actually invested a lot of time for him to develop and to really show his potential. So it's more than just the euros, the cents and the euros. It's also been the time that we stuck by him, even when he played poorly. We there are some who might have wanted him out, but you can see now why that patience has paid off, and that lesson is now being applied to other players like CDK and some of our other younger players for the project. But my take on it is that if he really wanted to stay, he would have already signed. So everyone knows with the case of Tomori, Tonali, they're discussing contracts all the time. So it's not just that they started discussion a few weeks or months ago. Yeah, it's starting for a long time. And I'm sure there's been offer, a lot of drama about him changing agents and now being represented by a lawyer, which I get. But the will of the player is very important. And this is something that Maldini has also said. If the will of the player to stay, he'll make it happen because the instruction then becomes very clear from the player to the agent or to the lawyer saying that I want to stay, just get me the best offer and I'll sign it. Yeah, I'll go to
Are,
the Milan
are
and
you listening, Donnarumma?
get. But and the case of the Donnarumma, where again he went up against the fans and really took the stick behind it, he's laughing all the way to the bank if money is more important. And Shane, like you mentioned, I mean, we don't take it away from the players. They're paid. They have their own lives. They have their own ambitions. Uh, but of course, the honesty is very important, especially to me. It's like if you don't want to stay, then just make it clear. We've had examples, by the way, of players in other teams have been very open and saying that I'm not going to renew and just find a buyer for me. Yeah, I mean the one that comes to mind especially is Vlahovic, who was very direct with Fiorentina, saying that yeah, even though you're going to make me your best paid player in history, but my ambition goes beyond your club and just sell me. And they made a deal, regardless of the. You could say Vlahovic made a mistake by joining Juve. Time will tell, but the will of the player trumps everything. And in the case of Liao, is his will really, does he really want to stay? You could argue that if you pay him maybe 10, 15 million net per season, it's a done deal. But at the current levels that we are giving or offering to our players, it's going to be tough. How about you, Shane? Where do you think if he were to leave, where would you think his next destination would be?
I agree what you said at the start of your question there. I don't want it to be a situation where if he comes out tomorrow and if he says, "Oh, look, hey, I'm sorry, guys, this is a money situation. I owe 20 million to God knows who's at Sporting Lisbon.
Yeah,
I owe 20 million. I need to go for the money." No one, no one, unless they're a complete fool, right? Or just blind. They're not going to turn around and go, "Oh, I can't believe that you're doing this." Hardcore Milan fans are not, right? What I don't want to see is, I don't want to see the repeat of the Kessie situation, which is you're literally telling the fans that you love them and you love the club and you love XYZ and you love every blade of grass in the San Siro. And then 3 months later, then, oh, you've already signed with Barcelona. You know, you don't. You don't. And again, I'm not being too hard on Kessie. He's chosen his path. I hope it works out well for him. But in terms of just honesty, no one's going to berate Leao if being a young kid, if he wants to work and get rid of that fine more quickly, and if he needs to move to do that, no one can fault him. I just want to make sure he does it the right way and he does it with honesty and and a bit of respect as well. Because let's be honest, the fans did give him quite a lot of time. They gave him stick at the start, but they gave him a lot of time, and he's become our guy now. So just a bit of respect goes a really long way and stuff like that.
yeah. But Liao is also a signal or a question in terms of what is the renewal policy for the rest of the players. So other than Liao, okay, quite recently we've got Kalulu over the line, but Benacer is another player that really is in the similar situation to Liao, and we touched upon it. just a few minutes back. So do you? My question to you, Shane, is that do you think Benacer and Liao, their fates are intertwined in the sense that if we can't get Liao over the line, could we even do the same with Benacer?
I guess yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's going to be a very telling episode in the story of this cycle, right? So the cycle being the Redbird cycle. So if Benacer and Leao don't come about, it is not going to be a lot of fun for us for the next couple of years, because that to me says potentially that Redbird are going to be, oh, we're going to wait until the stadium's built and we're bringing in steady revenue, we're bringing in steady income before we can jack up our salaries and the cost of players that we purchase. So that indirectly means that we're going to go through a phase of getting in young players, needing to have patience while they hopefully work out, and then, you know, potentially going through this constantly until the stadium is built. It's an interesting thing, man. It is, you know, this could go either really well and everything is wrapped up in January, and that will give me a lot of belief in the context of what Redbird want to do. If it doesn't go so well, this isn't good, because we're going to go through a couple more. I'm not going to say we can find a player the caliber of Leao, but we're going to go through a couple more of these things where we bring them up to a level that we can't afford them anymore. Then we either sell them or they go on a free, which I don't know how that works. But we sell them, they go on a free. We have to go back then to getting an untested 21, 22-year-old, hoping he comes good, and then rinse, repeat until the stadium is there. That's what I'm afraid of. So let's see.
Yeah, and as you said it correctly, is that we don't want to go through a repeat of what happened with the other players. So we've had a number of players leaving for free, and this is, you could say, a point of contention for fans. Cassie went for free. Hakan, or Mr. H, went to the Snakes for free. Romagnoli went for free. Gijo went for free. So if you could even monetize a portion of them and give the next team the best deal of their lives, and not just for 10, 20 million, that's at least something which we can use to reinvest back in the club. So we don't want to see those days again, because these players, they have value, and we've spent a lot of time, and especially for the coaching staff, they've spent a lot of effort to developing them, and we've stuck through them. So why is it that we don't get anything back from the deal other than the performances on the pitch? There should be more than that. But time will tell what is the actual long-term vision of Redbird and how they want to go about such situations, because it's going to happen again. There will be players who want to, or maybe intentionally, run down the contracts for whatever reason. It could be maybe due to greed by the agents. But there's going to be a way to deal with this. And, I want to take this point, even though I'm not I completely hate this team's guts, the team that I'm going to mention, Chelsea. They had a good approach towards Christensen, who was the centre back for last season. Didn't Apparently he said he verbally agreed to a renewal. Then he went back on his word. They benched him, took balls, but they did it. They benched the play, and they told him is that you don't do this to the club. Now the question is
Oh
that
no, I agree. I think, and that's, I think if Milan gets back to a stage where we have, let's say, it doesn't have to be 25, but let's say 20, you know, good slash great players, right? Um, I wouldn't disagree with that approach, because I think it, as you said, it should reinforce the fact that no player is bigger than the club. So you have to respect it, but I think judging, based on what we had then, I mean, we just don't have, we didn't have the depth. It sucks, but we just, unfortunately, in situations like that where you don't have depth, you're kind of just, I just, I have to basically use this guy until, you know, until he goes on a free. It sucks, but it is what it is.
yeah, well, we
That's
look
for me.
forward to the first real transfer window under Redbird, which is January, to see how
Mm.
they're like when faced with a, not, you could say, not a fully heated transfer window like summer is, you could say a bit more toned down January because there are teams that will still want to hang on to their players because they got the rest of the season to play for. So
Because
we'll,
it's going to be an inflated transfer window. Because you know the way they go after the World Cups, it's you have very average players going for like 2 and 3 times their actual price because they had a good World Cup. Um, it's going to be an inflated, and I just seeing Redbird moving that, it's going to be an interesting one. Mm,
hopefully they bring the checkbooks out. So we've seen the news about them being so close to the Yankees, this, that partnership, and all. We want to see the money,
that's it.
I really want to see the money. How's the
That's
money
it.
going to be used? Hopefully, they don't treat it like a real estate project and just focus on the stadium. There's a team behind that in case
Get
there's
get
loss.
that wallet out, Jerry. Get that wallet out. Come on, man. Yeah.
All right, Shane. Well, yeah, that's the last photo that I have in the image bank for this episode. Any parting thoughts on our first ever podcast or stream?
Yeah. So it's just yeah. I think I'm looking forward to meeting an awful lot of our fellow Milan fans around the world. So please like, subscribe, share it to your friends. The whole aim of this channel again is to engage everyone, um, and especially uh, to give a huge amount of exposure to you know people around the areas of, let's say, East Africa, Middle East, parts of Asia, Indonesia, China, Malaysia. So I mean, but anyone, guys, reach out, share the channel. We've a lot of plans. There's a lot of work we want to put into just getting everyone involved. If you're a passionate Milanista, reach out to us. Our Twitter's at Milanista360. Obviously, you're on the YouTube channel, so we'd hope you know where the YouTube channel is. So yeah, just reach out to us, guys, and just let's just chat.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you, Shane. And this is the birth of something great that I believe we're passionate Milan fans, as well as I know there are a lot of passionate fans out there. So let's get together. Let's have that discussion. Everyone's got their views. We could learn something new, and we learn something new about different perspectives. And this is why having that global reach means that we're able to see things from various people from various different backgrounds. And for me personally, I'm a believer in strength through diversity, having vast array of opinions to make us a bit more all-rounded, and you could say positive, maybe realistic fans, rather than just sticking to one narrative. So it's great, and yeah, as Shade mentioned, please contact us through Twitter. You can leave a comment. I hope that you guys like and subscribe these videos. A lot more great content to come, and we're looking to really expand into doing something very fresh. There's another video that I did recently with regards to Football Manager, from, you could say, the perspective of an AC Milan fan, seeing how the team actually performs. Hint: Salmaker's goal. You can see it inside the clip. You might not see it in the league.
Has to be seen to be believed. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's great having you on, Shane, and yeah, we look forward to having more discussions and really reaching out to other Milan fans, and a lot more great content on the way. Okay, so with that said, thank you, and yeah, Forza Milan.
Forza Milan.
Till the next
See you.
episode. See you guys.
Italia!